in the current hit 'em or blindside hit mentality, or purposely trying to injure your opponent's behavior of high school athletes, and if you were a high school coach, how would you demote this behavior?
Well, it's definitely an attitude that needs to change. I think growing up in my time in sport, it was, and I grew up playing contact sports like lacrosse, football, hockey, and we were always taught to finish our checks and to play the body, and I'm not saying the games need to completely eliminate contact, but I do think that we need to change the way we look at the big hit and how we celebrate the big hit and promote the big hit, and really make our players understand the long-term repercussions of reckless play and reckless contact.
If you could take everything that you know now about concussions and apply it to be your beginning of your playing years, and continue it now, what if anything would you change about how you played the game or how you reacted after hits to the head?
Yeah, I remember as a young hockey and lacrosse player in particular, I would look for players and target players who had their head down and that actually didn't, were in no position to defend, and that was kind of, that was encouraged by your coach at the time. Is that when somebody's head is down, then hit them as hard as you can, and so that's one thing I would change. And I, as a player, I used to look up to. Some of those physical type of hockey and lacrosse players and try to emulate some of the things they were doing, and that was one thing in hindsight that I would have avoided. And I think in lacrosse in particular, if we focus on the ball and the possession of the ball and kind of shift away from the mentality of hitting somebody when they're not in a position to defend themselves, that's when we see, some, when players are put in really compromised positions.
With that being said, do you think you could diagnose every time you got a concussion and take the right time off like Sidney Crosby because you know yourself well enough?
Yeah, I think so. And actually Sidney was, it really trickled down in Canada because he's such an important figure in hockey in Canada and so well respected, and so that really had a big impact on the sport community. And if he's was mature and had the strength to sit out as long as he did, I think that really sent a positive message, and it was scary, and I think we're seeing players now. It's slowly starting to happen, but start becoming a little bit more aware of those symptoms and get the proper treatment and take the necessary steps to come back healthy.
Based on your experience, what advice would you give players recovering from concussions?
Yeah, I would say just take your time, take the necessary time, and be honest with yourself. It's you'll know when you're ready, and I think getting the proper treatment and trusting your doctor and kind of sticking to that plan, and also there's a lot of things that are out of control when you have a concussion, but focus on the things that you can control: proper nutrition, obviously rest, and that will definitely speed your recovery and help you get back to playing healthy.
How do you think lacrosse should leverage the work that is being done regarding concussions in football and hockey?
Yeah, I think that's huge. They're obviously devoting, because it's such a prevalent issue now, they're devoting a lot more resources to research on the issue. So lacrosse is definitely going to benefit from that, and I think lacrosse has an opportunity to be a leader in that way, and really continue to kind of spread the information out to the lacrosse community and build that awareness.
What would you recommend to protect players from concussions from an equipment standpoint?
Actually, the doctor that I dealt with said equipment didn't have a huge impact on my hit. Obviously, wearing the proper headwear and a mouth guard can help help you take some preventative measures. But other than that, I think I think we got to go look a little bit deeper and really look at the nature of the contact rather than the equipment.
Do you think it is important to implement a universal checklist for players with symptoms of concussions and mandatory baseline tests?
Yeah, I think those are all steps in the right direction, and the more awareness and there's so many different ways to look at concussions, but I think if we take these type of measures, it can only players will only benefit from that.
There was no penalty on the play when you were in Buffalo, and do you think there should be some sort of discipline or warning against plays that injure players?
Yeah, well, that play was within the rules of the game. So, I don't fault the player. He was playing within the rules of the game. So I think we just need to. They're not huge changes that's going to impact the integrity of the game, but there's adjustments and subtle adjustments that you can make in terms of the rules that will really help avoid these type of situations.
And going off that, you talk about some concussions are unavoidable, but so many others are avoidable. Would you say that was an avoidable concussion?
I think it was. I think it was an avoidable concussion if there was stricter penalties on stricter penalty on blindside hit. He had a choice, a clear choice to play the ball, and I think we continue to promote that of focusing on the ball in those situations where contact is about to be initiated. I think if we just have a change in mentality there, so many more of those type of plays will be avoided.